Hi, everyone. Welcome to the sunny side of San Diego with Michael and Vinnie over here.
How's it going?
Good, man. All right. So we want to go over the idea of success, especially during, everything that's going on currently. So, Michael, how do you define success?
I think I'm still trying to figure that out because I think that what I once considered success, the idea of money and followers and fans, is not really what I consider success anymore. I think that I've my goals and what I think. I think that I did before the pandemic, but I think that the pandemic also played a major factor in that because I think that we, in a sense, need to set a level of success that is at least somewhat attainable if we're willing to put in the work. And there's certain things that just can't be done right now that we're not allowed to do. And so I think that we need to recalibrate the bar of success, not necessarily lower it, but just reset it and position it in a different place. And so I think that for me, success over this past year has been the idea of being able to reach people, to help people through this. There's still the goals of being able to, for me personally, move artwork to build legacy. But I think that it's a matter of setting the major goals, the major milestones, but also having attainable, measurable benchmarks along the way, the baby steps. And I think that some of the baby steps have changed. And sometimes, though, yeah, over time, the grand goal changes.
Yeah, we talked about it briefly on our last podcast. Was the idea of those mini wins and um, many successes, and I think that's such a big thing right now. It's like, especially if you're working from home, when you go to an environment like your office or a place like that, you go, okay, I'm here in this location, I'm working, and when you're working from home, I think that it becomes a little bit harder. So you're not you have to almost tell yourself, okay, this is what I'm doing this morning, and I'm gonna, as things progress, I have to say, good job, I did it, whatever it might be, and have more of a game plan than focusing on, I think, the big win, because the big win can be harder to define, I think, with whatever business you're in, especially if, like, let's say you're in the restaurant industry, right? You're still trying to get your numbers as high as possible, your sales as high as possible, but you're also, trying to survive. So you're probably not going to be selling, I would assume, selling as much items as you would be when things are open. So finding out, okay, well, how can I have this success right now with, be it, I'm going to get more viewers to my platform. I'm going to have this one product. I'm going to make sure that this one product gets sold drastically out there. So finding those things that you can accomplish with the restraints that are currently put out there.
What I've always thought was interesting about the retail or restaurant industry in relation to what I do is the fact that if you have a restaurant, in theory, you always have people coming in. So you have a smaller denominator, but you have consistency, you have people. So it's just a matter of getting more people. Now, for me, it's a case of generally a larger price point, not always, depending on what it is, but the idea of sometimes I'll have these lulls or these gaps where there's nothing. And then there will be this period of great abundance. And so it's tough because you can do all the things right. I actually shifted from being in a mental, physical, emotional state where I was definitely not my best a couple months ago, but I had a lot of business coming in for whatever reason, a lot of business coming in. And then I thought, you know what? You have this abundance, get yourself together, pull it together. You got to shift. So I put in the work, I put in the time, found that inspiration, motivation from within, reset the bar of success, started putting in the work, started, in my opinion, bettering myself in every way. And then this past month, I had the slowest month that I've had since the pandemic. So it was kind of strange that you would work harder together and then have a month where there's not as much going on. And for an artist, one or two sales, one or two large would be the difference between a good or a bad year. But the idea of going potentially days, weeks, a month, maybe months without selling a large piece or something, it's a different level of pressure and a different level of anxiety that comes with that, especially if that's your livelihood and it's all that you do.
Yeah. I mean, in the real estate field, I mean, there's restraints that we're currently working with, and so you're looking at, okay, well, what do I define success? And so you're constantly looking to find other avenues to get the word out, right? Right now, with this pandemic that's going on, there is a drastic need for properties. So that's demand has still been there because I believe we're such a big military town, rates are so low that properties inventory has gone down drastically. So if you're looking to buy, there's bidding wars, especially on detached properties and things like that. So you're constantly finding ways to get to the masses to make sure that they're aware of the opportunities that are currently available. Because I think what happens in the news compared to what happens for real estate, I mean, be it with artwork, be it with whatever it might be, they're usually like 6 months behind, if that. Right. So what happens when the news is saying, "Oh my gosh, it's the pandemic. This is going on. This is going on." They're probably 6 months behind of what's actually happening. So it's just trying to find ways of getting in front of people without basically physically getting in front of people. And I think that's been one of the struggles, and that's kind of been why making a focus on YouTube. That's why we kind of went virtually, because we can't have that face-to-face conversation anymore. I mean, just a lot of things of trying to find ways that we can still offer that face-to-face connection, yet not do it in person because everything's going on.
So for you as a person and in your field, or perhaps not in your field, what would you say at this time would be success in your eyes? And is that current perception of success different from what your perception was in the past?
I mean, my perception of success when I first got to the business was units, how many units I sold, how many properties I sold, right? And over time I go, well, I mean, I can sell those many units, yet are my systems in place to allow me a better life? So I started changing the way that I looked at it and saying, okay, well, how can I make this year a great year instead of how can I make my life a great life, a life that I want to live? And so I changed the way I looked at my success, and now I go, okay, well, what would make me happy? What kind of system would make me happy? What kind of structure would make me happy? What kind of routine would make me happy? And I've been a lot more focused on the routine, a lot more focused on the life, probably over the last maybe year and a half, or so. So I don't think there's something truthfully to quantify numbers based, but it's more about, am I living the best life that I can live while also helping as many people in the real estate field as possible?
It's
So that's
interesting
kind
to
of
say that because I've found the same to be true in recent years, that it's shifted more to how do you build sustainability for the life, as opposed to before it used to be, oh, it's a certain amount of followers, a certain number, it's hitting a certain goal, it's selling a painting for a certain amount. And although those would be cool benchmarks to have, as we talked about motivation, inspiration, goals earlier, I think that, yeah, it's much more about, okay, I like this type of lifestyle. How do I build sustainability for that? So it goes back into also what we were talking about earlier of, as we get older, we find that what we seek is peace and we seek comfort. And so I think that that's definitely a goal, a level of peace and comfort. But for me, my goal is also to maintain a certain degree of hunger that I'm still driving and still pushing forward. But as we start to have these changes, different things come into our life, families, significant others, I think that there's definitely a shift, because we talked about, again, if you're on your own versus if you're with somebody, if you have a group, if you have a team of sorts, a unit, then it becomes about the unit. And so then there's sort of a blending of the goals and the desires, because it's not just you, it's your unit at that point.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of how I look at it. I mean, I remember a couple of years where I was just kind of really focused on units, and it's like you get to the top of that mountain, right? Because you finish the year and you're like, I did it, and then you go, okay, well, it's January. or it's December, right? And you're like, all right, now ready to climb the next mountain. And you're like, well, what memories did I build? What positivity did I build for sustainability? Do I want to look 10 years in the future and I'm just climbing this mountain to the next mountain to the next mountain, or am I appreciating the moments that I had during that time frame?
That's a big obstacle that I've had too, because yeah, it is just jumping from one mountain to another, and it's oftentimes for some it's a trap because you never observe the things along the way, and so that's what I'm trying to do now is to yeah go after the things, but I'm trying to spend more time observing. But that's a big struggle for me because I have this laser like focus, and so for me to look in a different direction when I'm trying to move forward, it's so hard and something that I'm still trying to work on. So I think that's one of my goals for this year.
I really don't know if it's a more of a male thing, because a lot of the males I have around me, or that I at least have in my proximity, they can really have a laser focus on something and just do it as a routine, and just get it done, and not care about anything else. It seems I don't have as many women around me that have that kind of same kind of focus. So I don't know if it's more of a male thing, a male idea that's like, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, and more of the female idea of appreciate what you're going after. And it might just be the people that are around me, just kind of like the sections, but that's kind of, I have more males around me that have that focus.
Yeah, it might be the particular people that you surround yourself with. I mean, I've certainly had females in my life, a couple at least, that were, in fact, one not so long ago that was more laser like focused than I was, and it became an issue. And I have that problem so often is that I get so wrapped up in the numbers and things like that. And oftentimes it doesn't even matter what the numbers are from one perspective, because for me, let's say the goal is to have so many followers. Well, you get the followers, but if the people aren't actually supporting you, then it really does you no good. It's just a number. It's just a glory moment or a trophy. But what does it really do? What is it really benefiting you aside from looking like you're successful? So I think that that's another thing, is looking like you're successful versus truly being successful. And
Yeah.
you could be successful, but have other people that have different perceptions of success think that you're not successful. But does it really matter? If you have the things that are important to you, if you have the things that are important to you, then in your eyes, which are the only eyes that should matter for your own life, then you are successful. So I think oftentimes perhaps we focus too much on what other people think of us. We want other people to see us as successful rather than actually focus on being successful in our own minds, hearts, and souls.
Yeah, no, I can see that. I mean, it's yeah, I think we're so afraid of what other people think of us, and I thought it was something that it took me I mean, I was really bad with that probably in my early 20s, maybe in mid 20s, where I cared so much of other people. I know in my teens I was really bad about that. Like, and over time I slowly started to understand, why do I care about what other people think of me? And I think that was more of a social thing, where I cared about what people thought about me at a young age. And then there was a moment when I got into business and started my own business, I started to care what other people in the profession thought about me. And so I kind of came through the same cycle that I did as on a personal level now that I did with the real estate level.
It can absolutely ruin you if you're concerned with other people perceiving you as successful, because their bar for you will shift on a whim. And so, in a manner of speaking, if that's your focus, you will always fall short, or you will always fall short to somebody. And that's why it's important to set that aside and to work through that. So many people don't, though. So many people do just care about status in the eyes of others. And it leaves you in a place where you will never be able to truly feel fulfilled.
I mean, it's like an analogy I guess I can use. I mean, you're walking down the street and you see someone, right, that's getting a glimpse of you while you're walking, and you walk past them and you're worried about what they thought about you while you walk past them, right? And you keep doing that. Every time you walk past someone, you're worried about what they thought about you, and you're not focusing on where you're going, right? And there's other people that can walk past someone, flip them off, push them, keep walking forward and keep doing those kind of things where they don't really care about the people behind them because they're focusing on where they're going. I mean, I think there's a balancing act of both of where you want to really be, but the main goal should be focus on where you're going. And if something's going on to the right of you, left of you, maybe help them out, talk to them for a second, and then keep going forward, keep going to your goal. I think that's kind of what you hope to strive for.
And I'm still working on that myself. So I think that as I move forward, I think that more and more my perception of success is going to change. And even right now, I'm in a state where I'm thinking of shifting my focus a little bit because I feel like I'm giving too much of myself. And not that I'm asking for a lot in return, but as we talked about, success being the sustainability of the dream of finding the peace. So it's wanting to grind, but wanting to grind while also finding a certain type of peace or peace in certain areas of life.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for listening. Please subscribe, please share, give your feedback. If you have something that you want us to talk about, please reach out to us. Remember, it's not where you are today, it's where you're going to be tomorrow, the next day, and just make sure that you're a little better than you were yesterday.
Yeah, and I'm curious to hear what other people consider success. What's important to them? What are their goals? Have they shifted over time?
Yeah. Thank you guys. Have a great day and make it powerful.